should be topic number 4 tonight. We stand with Kemi Seba. This came with a link as well. It takes us to YouTube. Let me just fix it. Takes us to YouTube. We'll watch about 10 minutes of this and then we'll have a discussion.
Thank you for your presence. Today we are confronted with a situation that is very troubling when a man is found guilty for having written books and made speeches. Kemi Seba risked 30 years in prison in France as a lawsuit being made against him by the French state in response to his position against neocolonialism and against the abusive regimes of the France Afrique as displayed in West Africa. Kemi Seba has been a militant for the past 20 years in a form which rejects any kind of violence, either explicitly or in any of his actions. He's always used democratic tools such as public expression, marches, and other actions to make his ideas heard. I say this without any exaggeration that he is a victim of persecution. First, he was arrested on many occasions on the western part of the African continent in the puppet regimes which serves France's interest rather than the interests of the African people.
For those who may not be aware, Brother Kemi Seba has been arrested and deported and banned from Senegal. He has also been arrested in Burkina Faso before Ibrahim Traoré took over. He's been arrested in a number of West African countries, brothers and sisters. So I just wanted to clarify that for you before we go forward. Let's continue with the press conference.
In addition, as a result of his militant commitment, he was deprived of his nationality, which was revoked in a measure which was introduced by Édouard Daladier under the Third Colonial Republic, who signed the Munich Agreement and created the concentration camps in which the Jewish militants were detained. This is a ruthless measure coming from the colonial orders of the single state and double status, which were created based on the color of your skin. These measures are today used against a person simply for his ideas, his fight for freedom, and for his words.
So I need to do more research on what Juan Blanco has just said, but effectively what he's saying is that Kemi Seba was arrested under a colonial law that was designed, specifically to persecute dissidents against the French state. Now I need to do more research on that, but just note that, and when we have the full translation, we'll come back and bring it for you, brothers and sisters, and clarify all of the detail.
The revoking of his nationality is a measure which had not been taken since the 60s, and it was only taken a dozen of times without the use of jurisprudence. Kemi Seba refused to back down, to beg for anything. He accepted the decision and responded in a symbolic and transparent fashion by publicly burning his French passport, and he continued to defend his position since his 20s. Today, this man is detained by the French security agency DGSI, General Directorate for Internal Security, which is the intelligence bureau of this country, in unpleasant conditions, as you could imagine. Deprived.
So effectively, he was arrested by the equivalent of the French equivalent, of the FBI, and MI5, for those of us who live in the UK.
From freedom, according to me, for the past 48 hours. This could be extended to 96 hours before being presented to a judge. He is charged for a criminal offense for which he could be imprisoned for 30 years. The offense being the sharing of intelligence with foreign powers in order to provoke acts of violence against France and the interests of the nation.
So the charge, because many people, when Brother Kemi and Brother Heru were first arrested, nobody knew exactly what the charge was. A lot of the reporting didn't carry a charge. It was unknown. what exactly they were being charged with. They were being charged with feeding sensitive information to foreign governments with the intent, yes, to incur and inspire a violent reaction, brothers and sisters. This is what they were being charged with. And that charge carries a 30-year prison sentence. Okay? So now Juan is going to go on to share some very important information, though, about this particular charge, yes, and its context.
The measures is for the military and is intended to be applied on soldiers or civilians. We saw this in the past where sensitive documents such as nuclear plant maps were stolen by people who worked for the intelligence agency. Of course, this is not the case for Kemi Seba. This measure could only be applied to situations of provoking an armed conflict or you feel an existing armed conflict against France, or you try to destroy the security of its territory.
So effectively, this law was created to prosecute people who are working for the French government and its intelligence agencies. Yes, if you are in such a role and you share sensitive information, yeah, with foreign governments and or intelligence agencies, you will be charged with this law, and the full extent of the law will be imposed upon you. Okay? But the law is supposed to be for people that are working in such positions, is what Juan Blanco is informing us of here.
Seba. This measure could only be applied to situations of provoking an armed conflict or you feel an existing armed conflict against France, or you try to destroy the security of its territory. Therefore, this is a particularly serious measure which does not apply to Kemi Seba. Another condition against Kemi Seba is the secrecy. Kemi Seba has never operated undercover. To the contrary, he was often being criticized for openly teaming up with numerous geopolitical partners who act as a counterweight against the US and the West in general, such as Venezuela, such as Russia and others. He has.
Now, brothers and sisters, you will know that this is becoming a trend. We remind you of the situation regarding African Stream and the fact that they were effectively shut down on a number of different platforms under the charge from the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken of being a satellite or agents of the Russian state. Yeah. And what Juan Blanco is in fact informing us of is the fact that all of Brother Kemi's associations on the geopolitical level are very public, and this is true. Yeah. And he's also true. He's correct to say that some have criticized him for this. Even some of his supporters have been critical and or cautious about some of those associations. But it is also true to say, as he said, that these are all public. Yeah, none of this is hidden. There's no cloak and dagger behind these things. His associations with Russia, Iran, Venezuela, and other nations is very, very well known to everybody. Yeah, so there's no secrecy involved in this, brothers and sisters.
He's always emphasized the value of his geopolitical partners to help in the emancipation of the people of Africa, and never as a tool to be subjugated to another power. To that effect, he reminded that recently to the Russian authorities in Russia, in a public speech watched by millions of people online, in which he told them that if they were expecting to replace the old colonialist, therefore they should neither count on him nor on the African population, who would not hesitate to tell that they mean business. From this, a pretext is fabricated to destroy this man and put him in jail. And also, as a revenge, many French leaders feel following the collapse of their France Afrique policies, which funded the African and French elite for so long.
So just to clarify, because there may be brothers and sisters in the audience who don't understand or don't know of the context of the franc CFA or the Franco-Afrique or the CFA franc, yeah, which is effectively a French currency that has been imposed as a neo-colonial tool on nations that were formerly colonized by France since the 1960s. And Brother Kemi Seba has been at the helm of the movement in recent years against this currency, trying to remove this currency from use in about 14 African nations, yeah? And because of that, a mass movement has been arising in many of the French-speaking African nations. And Brother Kemi, as well as Urgence Panafricaniste, as well as our sister Natalie Yam, and others have been at the helm of that particular movement. And that has only risen even further with the alliance of the Sahel states and Niger and Mali and Burkina Faso criticizing this particular currency and moving to remove it. Yeah, in fact, even before that, there was some dismantling of some of the frameworks around the CFA franc. It was also a part of the campaign of Diomaye Faye and Ousmane Sonko in Senegal. Yeah, and another day soon we're going to be going into exactly what is taking place in Senegal. Just to say for today, however, that a significant point in their platform was the severing ties, yeah, rupture, yeah, severing ties with France, the neo-colonial government of France, and getting rid of the CFA franc was a part.
Yeah, so I definitely wanted to play enough of that where Shakara, touches on the idea of what when the French say French interests, that's what they're talking about. That last part with the CFA franc, that's what they're talking about, the French interest. So just wanted to make sure to get that in there. So should be something before it says we stand with Kemi Seba. Let me mix it up a little bit. Let me start with Anthony this time. Anthony, what say you to what you just heard?
Yeah, brother Kogo. It's some kind of disconnect. Coco.
Yeah, Anthony, go ahead. You're on the panel twice. I don't know why, but you're on the panel twice. Let me remove one and see if that helps.
Okay.
But go ahead.
Yeah, I've been following it, man. Yeah, I mean, I'm a supporter of Brother Kemi Seba, man. He's one of our biggest voices, man. On the scene today, man. For African people, man. He's a great brother, man, and he travels all over the black world, man, all over the African world. I mean, he's been to Haiti, he's been to Martinique. He goes to Martinique a lot, man, because there is a thriving black movement, black consciousness movement in Martinique. And all over France, it's a thriving movement all over France. And and with everything that's going on now in France, trying to hold on to his to the neo-colonial empire that they have in Africa, and with the brothers in Niger and Mali and Burkina Faso saying the hell with that shit. You know what I'm saying? And with African people in France, like I'm saying the hell with that shit too. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I have much respect for him, man. Plenty of respect for him. And I think that we need to rally around him, man. Rally around him and do whatever we can. To make sure that that they don't run no bullshit down on Brother Kemi Seba, man. Because it's not only that, they can lay there and put him in jail. Man, his life is in danger, man. I mean, Kemi, when you get a brother who's a truth teller like that, And I want to remind everybody, he will tell you himself, his ideological father is Khalid Abdul Muhammad. You know what I'm saying? He used to work with Dr. Khalid. Him and Dr. Khalid were friends, man. That's his ideological father, and he'll tell you that. I mean, they had a real close relationship, man. So, but yeah, man, I believe in Brother Kemi Seba, man. I know we got to support him. His wife is a brilliant sister too, man. Who's supporting him, and in every way that a wife should support him. She's a great woman, and yeah, man. I mean, when I seen this, man, I seen it a couple of days ago, man. I was checking out Brother Shakara's show, man, on Kimbunga, and I was like, damn, what? But yeah, man, I stand with Kemi Seba too, man. I have nothing but love for that brother, man. Love and support for him, and I knock off right there.
I appreciate that, Anthony. Let me hear from Jose. Jose, what say you?
Yes, I follow this brother quite long, and around 2010, I landed in Senegal and fell in love with the place. Anyway, and I was there with Dutch people, to be honest, and they were into earthships. And I came across the brother on that frequency too, and he was promoting some project of a small head north of somewhere between Dakar and Saint Louis, closer to Saint Louis. He was promoting a small head that was building a project, not completely earthship, but it had some elements of it. And well, I kept that in the back of my mind, in the back of my head. They say in the Netherlands, but I don't know in English. But anyway, I remembered it, and then he was expelled from making a lot of noise. Message. Then he was expelled from Senegal for making a lot of noise about the Frank Shefa, and he's constantly those loud people. They do a lot of things, and they draw a lot of attention, and yeah, most of the time nothing happens. Right? I don't know. I've been also, I've been pro Kemi, promoting him like in those days. But I'm a watch from afar. I'm sorry. To me, he smells like Teen Spirit. Whatever he smells. But that's me. I'm not convincing nobody else. I'm just watching a noisy guy. And okay, now he's in France and he's locked up. And yeah, and I don't know, man. I don't know. I just keep watching from afar and promote IES, etc. Because that's the real deal. It's not so noisy, and well, the noise that's coming from IES is progress, right? Not how do you call it? What's the word? Man, starts with a C. Let me just use the word conflict, but it's not the word that I was looking for. But a lot of conflict, a lot of jugu around this guy, and I don't know. Controversy, right? A lot of controversy, a lot of noise, a lot of dust is being kicked. He's kicking a lot of dust, and you know what dust does. Dust blinds. That's all. I yield the mic.
Appreciate that, Jose. In the chat, Trigger262, just to piggyback off what Jose is mentioning of Kemi's wife, he said, Trigger Happy says his wife speaks along the same lines of Africana womanism, with the idea of maternism, far from a feminist and more African centered. But I only base that with Instagram captions, to be fair. KW Dawn 7 says the leader is the one who's closest to the enemy in pursuit. Thank you for that, Jose. With that said, let's hear from Ditso. Ditso, what are your thoughts on Kemi's step?
Okay, so very simple and straightforward. I met Kemi about 9 years ago in Martinique. I was in my tours of Caribbean, especially because my work here in the Western Hemisphere is related to Afro-descendancy as well as indigenous in the matters of human rights. Let me start by phrasing in this way. What is being done to Kemi is nothing atypical from the European nations, especially France. We've seen it historically with Haiti, for example, with the Guyana, French Guyana, and not to mention the Franco-speaking areas of Africa. This being said, I think it is extremely important that the pressure is augmented against this type of imperialist idiocy of the European kind. But this being established, my conversation with Kemi showed a major difference between two anti-colonialists of two different continents. Because even though there were few things we agreed upon, we disagreed in many fundamentals, including the association with the Nation of Islam of Farrakhan, and the Afro-descendancy world in the Western Hemisphere versus what happens in the either African context or African descendancy, be it in Europe, Asia, or Oceania. In that sense, has a different world, but that is a topic for another conversation altogether. With Kemi, of course, I received the message, what was it, 4 days ago, about his arrest. And immediately through the channels we have, we are trying to mount the pressure and support the necessary pressure to have him released and do the right diplomatic pressures in that sense. I will do what I can on my side as best as I can. And at this moment, hopefully, I have not heard if he has been released or not. To be honest, I heard the news. There were other events happening that needed my attention, but I kept that on the back end. I will look up French or Beninese or any other newspapers that may guide me into seeing that. If not, I will call my contacts and see if there has been any updates in regards to this. So as far as I know, the last 4 days, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday he was arrested. I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. But anyhow, yes, we need pressure needs to be done regardless of my differences ideologically or not with him. But this action is contrary to the simple right of existing and fighting against the continuing aspects of either Western European neocolonialism or the gringo, aka United States colonialism, or even against Chinese and Russian colonialism, which was a major difference between him and I. I considered Russia and China to be imperialist countries also, but anyhow, that would be um, the point there. We have to ensure that this violation of his human rights do not go unchecked.
Okay, I guess this was done there. Thank you for that. With that said, let me hear from Black Steel.
Well, I was unfamiliar with the brother. Um, but I looked while everyone was talking. I did see he's been released as of October 17th, so he's out with no charges. Um, so yeah, I definitely stand with him. He definitely is a voice for African people. Um, it's a lot of our political prisoners are being locked up, and this is something that's been going on for a long time. Many of our revolutionaries, our leaders, our freedom fighters are spending decades in jail or being executed. So to me, this is just another example in a long line of repression. Uh, the person in the post mentioned African Stream as well. Um, our voices are are attempting to be silenced. Um, the powers that be are afraid. They're afraid and they're nervous, and they know they're losing control of the narrative, and they don't like that. They don't like the fact that the people they've oppressed for so long are speaking out. They don't like their organizing. They don't like their plotting their downfall. They don't like that. And when I see these situations where people are being arrested for speaking out and they're being put on fallacious charges, um, these are the actions of a frightened person, a frightened society. Like they know they don't control us the way they used to control us. They can't get us to do what they want us to do anymore. And that's why you start to see a lot of these reactionary groups starting to come about because they know that more and more African people are waking up. It doesn't matter who you lock up. It doesn't matter what channels you try to delete. It doesn't matter who you kill. In the words of Fred Hammond, you can kill a revolutionary, but you cannot kill the revolution. And that's the reality that the West is coming to terms with. And that's why they're starting to attack so many of our people for speaking the truth. So I'm glad he's out now. He needs to watch his back because I think they may try to send him to the upper room next. I'll leave it there.
Yeah, I have that feeling as well that the next thing is they're gonna try to take that brother out. With that said, last but not least on this topic is Buana. Buana, what say you?
Yeah. So the only thing I would say is I like Kemi Seba, but Kemi Seba is making a mistake of what Omar Johnson is doing as well. They are trying to turn themselves into Jesus Christ. You know, you're not a savior for all African people. Yes, you are a voice, but you are a voice in the wilderness by yourself. You make yourself stronger when you associate with an organization. You need to associate yourself with groups of people who are like minded, not just you. Yes, you are a revolutionary voice, but anyone could take you out. What happened then? Marcus Garvey associated himself with the United Nations Improvement Association. Malcolm X associated himself with the Nation of Islam, and then after that, the Organization of Africans, the OAU. You have to associate yourself with organizations to make yourself bigger than just one man. One man will not rescue all of Africa, all the Caribbean, and African people globally unless you try to become a superstar. You know what I mean? You try to become a superstar. Associate yourself and affiliate yourself with organizations. Therefore, if one man dies, another man could replace you to continue the plan and strategy or trajectory that you are actually on. What is Mr. Sebi trying to actually do within Africa? What is he trying to actually do? I understand Kemi Seba has Pan-African organization, but when you think of that, you don't think first and foremost of Pan-African Africanist urgency organ. You think of Kemi Seba by himself. When you think of Marcus Garvey, automatically you think about the UNIA. The one thing with the other, you can't almost separate. You can't almost separate Marcus Garvey from the organization that he was affiliated with. But even within Kemi organization, there's one man always associated with groups of other men, like-minded men. So even if Paris government or officials decides to get rid of him, there are so many other who could replace him. It makes that one man almost irrelevant. Yes, we love the character and person move forward on personalities and save Black America or the Caribbean. So despite the fact that we love these characters and the fact that they are great speakers, they have to associate and affiliate with more than one group of men. More than one group of issue that is very important, a very important one.
Buana, your homework for this week is you got to get that connection fixed, brother. That the cutting out is
my connection.
Like I'm talking now, we still can't hear you. All right, you got to get that connection.
Man, it's bad. Yes. And me, Coco, is where I am right now. But you know what I mean? Hopefully, yeah, brother. I'll leave it.
All right, I appreciate that. Not to, I ain't trying to come at you wrong or anything like that, but the connection, the cutting out is just too much sometimes. Is there any last thoughts on this prompt? We stand with Kemi Seba. By the way, Trigger Happy 262 Plus points out, as Shakara was pointing out, that Kemi Seba has the Pan-Africanist Urgency Organization he's a part of. So he's not solo dolo as much as some might think. Does anyone have any last thoughts on this prompt?
No, just thank you for giving us the news that he's had already been released. I was still working on the news that I was received 4 or 5 days ago. So glad he's out, and now, each of us continuing our works in our own respective fields. Another day we'll have a more further discussion of that difference between Pan-Americanism and Pan-Africanism, and the reality in regards of how the ideology in Afro-descendancy in the Western Hemisphere is very diverse. So anyhow, I'm glad that he's out. Keep on the fight.
I wanted what I wanted to add as last words is, you see, he's free. Think. But you know, keep supporting the movement, but keep an eye on this guy. That's what I want to say.
Yeah, I was picking up on that on what you were saying there, Joseph. By the way, I know you just joined the Discord. Just navigate yourself to the podcast area where it says the channel says Shoot the Breeze, and you can post topics, make the prompts concise, and add an attachment from either YouTube or Twitter or something like that. You can post topics that concern the Black equals African diaspora within Latin America at any time you want. I'll put them up as well.
Thank you.
No problem. I'm guessing there's no other last thoughts here. So before you guys leave the panel, do me a favor. Let's do some shout outs of something positive you witnessed or something that positive happened to you or something that happened positive in the African world. Let's get some shout outs. Chat, I'd like you guys to give you a shout out as well. I have mine's. Mine's is a shout out to Maurice Bishop, but more on that in a second. Let's hear from Black Steel. Black Steel, what would you like to shout out this week?
I want to shout out my community. We recovered from a really bad storm and things are starting to get back to normal. But we really reached out to people who needed help, people who ran out of food, people who just needed some place to stay. There was a lot of support from the community. So shout out to everyone.
Appreciate that, and thanks for coming through, Black Steel, as always. Jose, what would you like to shout out this week?
Shout out to us worldwide, that we may step aside on time, because I'm seeing them radicalizing. It's always more comfortable to kick down and look for a scapegoat than to remove the hand that feeds you. And white folks are lied to just like everybody else, but they will never see the truth, because they are the image of good and beautiful, etc. So they have a huge problem. But as we have never been part of their imagery, so we have never been part of their market. Let's get out of their markets, out of their countries. They are about to kick each other's ass, nuke each other's cities, and we are urban people. So let's get out on time. Let's let them fix each other, and let us, with a young population, repopulate the world again. And that's what I give a shout out to. In other words, us.
Appreciate that, Jose. Ditso, what would you like to shout out this week?
Well, and part of my community, both indigenous and African descent in Costa Rica, we also had strong storms happening since the Hurricane Helene, and even before. We've been facing a lot of flooding and a lot of different natural phenomena here, and we've been working tirelessly to not only help within our own communities, but as well as outside communities as best as we can. It's been hectic, at least the last 3-4 months. So I'm glad that we are now entering the summer in my country, Costa Rica, trying to survive, and we're doing it as best as we can.
Appreciate that, Ditso. Anthony, what would you like to shout out this week?
Yeah, man. First of all, I'd like to give a shout out to our ancestors, to our African ancestors, who made it possible for us to be here today. We give a shout out to Brother Maurice Bishop and Brother Samora Michelle. And I want to say that I learned a lot of things on the show. This was a great show tonight, Coco. It was a great show. It was an interesting show. I learned a lot of things, a lot of interesting things. And I want to give a shout out to the Republic of Burkina Faso. They just opened up their own their first pharmaceutical company in Burkina Faso. So now they'll be getting their medicine. They'll be having their own medicine, manufacturing their own medicine, instead of getting it from France and from Europe. And that's my shout out. I say everybody. Peace and bless everybody.
I saw that too. Yeah, good stuff. Thank you, Anthony, for being here tonight. Last but not least, Buana, what would you like to shout out this week?
First of all, let me say I hope you can hear me. But shout out to Costa Rica and shout out to South Florida. I've been in a hurricane before. I understand what a hurricane is and what it does. So for the people there who are trying to put the pieces together, shout out to y'all, brothers. If y'all can, maybe y'all could put a link into how to donate to these areas in terms of the people I'm trying to get resources and whatever they may need. You know what I mean? That would be very good. As Anthony said, the shout out to Burkina Faso for their pharmaceutical lab. Also, shout out to Ngannou. Shout out to Ngannou for winning tonight. That's very important as well. I'll leave it there to be brief, Coco.
Yeah, your audio was perfect at the end. Yeah, shout out to Ngannou. He put a series of blows on my boy to finish that off earlier tonight. My shout out, like Anthony, is to Maurice Bishop. I just want to read this. If you guys have to go, that's fine, because the show will be done right after this. But African Stream posted this as Maurice Bishop's message to Africans in the United States. Says today, the 19th of October, marks the 41st anniversary of Maurice Bishop's assassination. Reactionaries within his party had turned against Bishop, ordering a firing squad to execute the Caribbean revolutionary and leader of the Grenadian Revolution, along with several of his comrades. The U.S. government under Ronald Reagan used this as a pretext to invade Grenada militarily and put an end to their socialist revolution. This is a time to remember the words of the revolutionary Prime Minister, Maurice Bishop, who lived from 1944 to 1983, remarking in New York about the danger Grenada's revolution posed to the United States. Let me see. I think there's a video. I'll play it, and this is how we'll end the show tonight.
There's an interesting one that we saw very recently in a secret report of the State Department. I want to tell you about that one, so you can reflect on that one. That secret report made this point, that Grenada is different to Cuba and Nicaragua. And the Grenada Revolution is in one sense even worse, using their language, than the Cuban and Nicaraguan revolutions, because the people of Grenada and the leadership of Grenada speaks English and therefore can communicate directly to the people of the United States. I can see from your applause, sisters and brothers, that you agree with the report. But I want to tell you what that same report also said, and said that also made us very dangerous. And that is that the people of Grenada and the leadership of Grenada are predominantly black. They said that 95% of our population is black, and they had a correct statistic. And if we have 95% of predominantly African origin in our country, then we can have a dangerous appeal to 30 million black people in the United States.
I'll see you guys next week. You guys be good. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast with your host, Koku. If you like what you just heard, we hope you pass along our web address, bittermedicineblogs.com, to your friends and colleagues, and share our show to all your social media. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts. This has been a KWAZ radio production. Join us next time for another session of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at Bitter Medicine Show, Twitter, Bitter Meds, Tumblr, Bitter Meds, Instagram, Bitter Medicine.